Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following the latest gaming hardware. I'm Damon Hatfield. As always, I'm joined by Max Scoville, host of Podcast Beyond, and Ryan McCaffrey, host of Podcast Unlocked. And a couple weeks ago, we got a Nintendo Direct focused on third-party games coming to the Switch this year. Last week, we had a big PlayStation State of Play that included a lot of games that are also coming to Switch. But there are also many big upcoming games that are not currently announced for Nintendo's new console. We thought it'd be a fun exercise to consider whether or not some of these games could run on the Switch 2 if their publishers wanted to port them. Now, the biggest problem with Switch 2 ports right now seems to be Unreal Engine 5. Super popular engine these days that unfortunately has trouble on Switch unless you scale the port way back. Current Unreal Engine 5 games on the platform include Fortnite, Split Fiction, and Chronos: The New Dawn. There really aren't that many, I don't believe. So thinking about some of these big games and especially considering the state of play, Max, Marvel Tokon, Fighting Spirits, upcoming fighting game with Marvel characters from the Guilty Gear folks. I'm really excited for this game. I haven't found 100% confirmation of this, but I think this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. If that's true, though, I don't think it's the most demanding of Unreal Engine 5 games. This is, of course, a PlayStation exclusive coming to PC. But if PlayStation wanted to bring this to Switch 2, what does your gut tell you?
I think that Arc System Works could pull it off. I remember being kind of impressed that Dragon Ball FighterZ managed to make its way to the original Switch. And if you look at Arc System Works' track record, they've got quite a few games they've managed to port from other platforms onto Nintendo hardware, mostly the first Switch. But I think if any studio that has taken the time to figure out how to do that with games could probably make it work. And also, again, looking at this, it's when you say Unreal 5 game, I think people tend to think nearly photorealistic, lots of crazy lighting effects, and this has lots of crazy lightning effects because of Storm, but it's it's cell shaded. It's relatively it's the art direction is doing the heavy lifting, not the graphics, I would say. So better chance than some of the games we're going to talk about, but still remains to be seen. My big kind of question there is, does Sony want to share with other platforms?
Sure, although there is precedent. The Lego Horizon game came to Switch, right?
Yeah, fair point.
Years ago now.
Although that was in Sony's best interest. They're trying to grow their IP on that one, so versus a Marvel situation. But we'll see.
Well, speaking of precedents on Nintendo platforms, there's Beast of Reincarnation from Game Freak, Pokemon Company. Except this is the most, like Max said, this is running on Unreal Engine 5, and it's the most photorealistic game I'm aware of that Game Freak has ever made. It seems to be on a whole other level. I think the greatest visual fidelity they've had up to this point was like GameCube-looking games. This one, I think, is beyond the scope of the Switch 2, because this is Unreal Engine 5 again, and it's supposed to be this huge living world where the forestry is changing in real time. I think this is a good example of a game that is just probably not going to work out on Switch 2. Ryan, what do you think?
You said it well. Yeah, I mean, this one is really pushing the polygons. There's a lot going on here technically, and I would be surprised. Or I guess put it this way: there's no evidence in with other games, anything else on the Switch 2 that suggests that Beast of Reincarnation would be technically feasible on the Switch. Again, I'm not a game developer. I'm not saying that in any definitive way, but I'm saying we haven't seen anything on that level on the Switch 2 as of yet.
Yeah, I don't know this. Of course, Resident Evil Requiem is coming to Switch 2 in just a week or two. Other sort of like home, for lack of a better word, like one-off game engines like the RE engine seem to have greater success on the Switch, whereas as opposed to Unreal Engine 5, for whatever reason that is. Max, there's another game from the State of Play, currently a PlayStation PC exclusive. A nice surprise. It was a sequel. That's Kena, Scars of Cosmora. And they're not really going for photorealism in this, but it's really, really nice looking, like Pixar level animation. Again, Unreal Engine 5. The first game never came to Switch, so I would say I would say probably don't hold your breath, Nintendo gamers, on this one coming to Switch 2. What do you think?
I mean, we're definitely going to see the first one make its way over there before this one does. And even then, I imagine it would be relatively scaled back, graphically speaking. But yeah, this was very much used to showcase the PS5 when the first one was unveiled, and clearly the developers have been grinding away at really pushing what they can do with that hardware. And it doesn't really seem like it would be much fun to try to scale it back to work on a less powerful system when that's they're trying to make a really pretty game. I don't think it's much fun to be like, hey, what if it was
much less
crappier
pretty
looking,
Yeah, this one is operating, like I said, very close to Pixar level quality. Although I do have to say, Luigi's Mansion 3 on Switch 1 is also a very, very nice looking animated game. So,
and they did make it pretty clear in the state of play that this seems to be very much a Sony funded game as well. So that even setting the technical stuff aside, just politically / business wise, this one seems like it's probably gonna not be drifting too far from PlayStation.
Yeah, but like Max said, maybe they'll finally bring the first Kena game over to Switch. Another game for the state of play that got its first like official big reveal, I think, was Silent Hill Townfall. Again, Unreal Engine 5. So that doesn't make it very likely. However, this game has lots of fog. And there's a proud tradition of using fog to make games work on Nintendo platforms. I kid, but Ryan, what do you think?
Well, I mean, Konami is they're not really platform loyal anymore, the way they kind of were back in the earlier Metal Gear days. So yeah, I mean, Konami's a company that's just wants to sell as many copies as they can, and if they can get it onto Switch 2, I think they're probably going to do it. The nice thing is, like, it's not a technical impossibility, even as we sit here as total not professional game developers at all, but a brand new release that I'm playing right now with my daughter is Reanimal. That's on Unreal Engine 5, and that's on Switch 2.
That is a hardcore game to play with your kid.
She's 14, so it's fine, and she loves horror, kind of dark, macabre stuff like that. So, yeah, it's she's a little older than your kids, Damon. So,
okay. I don't know where.
We're having a good time with it so far. So, yeah, it's sort of, I guess, where on the Unreal Engine 5 scale that a game is hitting. Like how much of the engine is it, or how much is it pushing on the tech front? Whereas Reanimal is definitely a smaller scope, kind of smaller scale game that has other. I mean, it is technically a good looking game, but it's not on the Beast of Reincarnation level.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, I think you joke about fog with Silent Hill. You might end up being proven right on that in the end with a Switch 2 version if we get it.
So looking at the track record for the developer, this Screenburn, the only other thing they have that I've noticed is Stories Untold, which is a Unity game, but it did make its way to Switch. So the studio has some experience, making a larger console grade game squeezed onto a smaller, limited Nintendo hardware. And yeah, I mean, to Ryan's point, like the Unreal 5 isn't inherently a deal breaker. I think at this point, it's just, it's new enough hardware and it's a relatively newer engine. And so I think getting these two things to play nice together is just time that could be spent making a game run better on platforms where they know it's going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see this, wandering over.
There are also a couple Konami announcements that are coming to Switch too, like the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 and Castlevania Belmont's Curse. So Konami is definitely Nintendo friendly. Ryan, let's talk about a couple Xbox games. I can't ever keep it straight. Is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle out on Switch 2 yet, or is that still forthcoming?
I think that's actually good. I haven't seen any. Usually there's like a trailer or some sort of little marketing push. I don't think it's quite hit yet. I wonder, my brain is saying April. Of course, our commenters are, I'm thinking in real time here. Yeah. Our commenters will know, but yeah, I think that one's still just around the corner.
That sounds right. I think it comes out, does it come out the same day as some DLC?
Well, we have to look it up. I don't know. But anyway, a little bit further out, there's Fable. This one, yes. I'm going to say no chance of this coming to Switch 2. It's running on Forza Tech. We've seen from the trailers in the gameplay, it has incredible lighting effects. It's got these 1,000 bespoke NPCs. This one, I think, is beyond the scope of the Switch 2. How about you?
Well, I think the way I would think about it is this. If we won't see Fable on the Switch 2 until we see a Forza Horizon game on a Switch 2, which obviously they both run on the same engine. So if we see a port of Forza Horizon 6 or maybe even 5, if Playground and Microsoft were to bring that over to Switch 2, then I think then it would open the door for Fable. And there's a massive business reason to want to bring Forza Horizon over to Switch too, and because it's already, they shipped it last year on PlayStation 5, and 3.5-year-old game at the time sold 5 million plus copies on PS5. So there's certainly, it would be in Microsoft's interest to bring Forza Horizon over to Switch 2. So if and when that happens, then I think, okay, yeah, then maybe Fable follows suit at some point down the road.
Forza Horizon 5 was an Xbox One game, so I would think that should be possible on the Switch too.
I feel like we're going to see that on there before we see anything else from the Playground team.
Yeah. Ryan, what about Sea of Thieves? That itself is 8 years old now.
That's true. And if I'm pretty sure my memory is correct that is an Unreal Engine game, not Unreal 5, unless they've sort of upgraded their engine along the way. But that one to me actually seems like would be more of an online infrastructure roadblock than anything else. Because that's, it is a live service online game, and not that those can't exist or don't exist on Nintendo platforms, but there's voice chat stuff with that game because it has proximity chat. That to me would seem like the thing that would hold up a Sea of Thieves port to Switch 2 more than anything else. But again, Microsoft, that game continues to do well. It's had millions of players over the years, and if it could find another life, a new life on Switch 2, Microsoft's going to do it. But that one seems to me like more of an online system infrastructure situation and issue than a technical one necessarily.
Mm-hmm. There's also Double Fine, a studio who makes games that seem like they could easily run on the Switch 2. Kiln is their upcoming sort of multiplayer pottery battle game. For everything we've seen from it, it looks like something that the Switch could definitely handle. And I take my mind back to a few years now to Psychonauts 2. Yeah. Ryan, I could definitely see Psychonauts 2 on the Switch 2. How about you?
I hope so. I mean, I'm not sure about Kiln, but both Psychonauts 2 is an Unreal Engine game, and so is Keeper, which also feels like a game that in terms of the kind of game it is that could do great on a Switch 2. So those could both be interesting candidates moving forward. But you're right. You're so right, Damon, that Double Fine, the kind of stuff they make, which is in fairness to them is pretty across the board in genres these days, but just their style of game seems like it was like, if it were 20 years ago, they'd be making games exclusively for Nintendo platforms, but they do definitely make Nintendo-esque kind of stuff.
Psychonauts 2 is also a very good game. I welcome the excuse to play through it again on my Switch 2.
Absolutely.
Max, the final game in our run of show is Death Stranding 2. It is getting a PC release. This is another game, though, I think the original Death Stranding would be much more realistic than the sequel. How about you?
I would be impressed. Yeah. I mean, that's famously running on the Decima engine, which is the proprietary Guerrilla Games Horizon engine. If it did make its way over, it would be considerably scaled back. And again, to Ryan's point about Nintendo's approach to online multiplayer stuff, so much of Death Stranding is, well, it's a Strand game. So you see there's other people doing Strand stuff into your game. So again, it's fairly passive. It's kind of like what you see in Dark Souls, but between the sort of photorealistic renditions of celebrities voiced by other actors and the weird sort of passive multiplayer, I feel like this would be a pretty big lift for the Switch or Switch 2. But they would put one on there before 2. I don't know. Remains to be seen.
Well, it's interesting to think about. Hopefully, Nintendo and Epic Games can work together and come to some kind of solution for Unreal Engine 5, because it's such a ubiquitous engine. So many big games are using it these days, and a lot of Nintendo Switch owners, I think, would like to play these games. We have a poll. We were talking about Resident Evil Requiem coming out in just a couple weeks. So we want to know, where do you plan to play Resident Evil Requiem /9? You can play it on PS5, Xbox, PC, or the Nintendo Switch 2. Make sure to vote at IGN.com the day this episode goes live, and we'll share the results with you next episode. Now, Do you want to be the very best, like no one ever was? Streamline your journey to becoming a master trainer with Planet Pokemon. Choose your Pokemon, filter by type, ability, or game availability, then use the full team builder to assemble an unbeatable lineup. Plan out the optimal set of moves, items, and abilities. Play to your strengths by analyzing your team's resistances and vulnerabilities, or really maximize your Poke potential by digging into the stats of your EVs and IVs. Save multiple team builds for different strategies and different games. Plan your dream team today at planetpokemon.com. And that's our show. Thank you to both Max and Ryan. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes to make this show possible. My name is Damon. We'll be back next week with more of the latest gaming hardware. We'll see you then. This episode of Next Gen Console Watch was produced by Damon Hadfield, Jobert Atienza, and Sam Claiborne. Damon is also the host, and Max Scoville and Ryan McCaffrey serve as regular panelists. Technical direction is by Jobert Atienza, with technical production by Marian Franzen and Amir Rakib. Audio engineering is handled by Amir Rakib. Post-production editing is by Jobert Atienza, and graphic design is by Justin Vachon. Next Gen Console Watch is an IGN production and part of the Geek Media Network.